hanging in there for the sake of that $10 per hour. We had to look busy. Taking orders from silly and petty people, the most soul-crushing experience. Wouldn't this world be so much better if we could work because we enjoyed it and we enjoyed deploying our gifts and talents in our work? We'll spend roughly a third of our lives working. That's a pretty significant chunk of our existence. Yet many of us doing jobs we find pointless and dreary simply resign ourselves to that state, telling ourselves, oh, this is how it's gotta be, suck it up and do it anyway. This I find very disturbing, especially after experiencing the ultimate BS job ever back in 2021 in the midst of the pandemic. The world was in lockdown, our business in Vietnam had shut, all income had evaporated, and I was stranded in Singapore without my husband. Only essential businesses remained operating, food delivery and the supermarkets. The only temp job I could find was at the supermarket. Singapore's largest chain, in fact. This was totally one of those COVID jobs, stuff artificially created by the government to keep the people afloat during trying times. The pay was $10 an hour, and I thought, why not? It'll be some income at least. I'm up for new experiences and perspectives, and I think I'll enjoy stocking goods and helping people find stuff. Just to be clear, I have the utmost respect for all our regular supermarket staff. I am not slagging their jobs off. There's useful and essential roles in society, the stockers, the butchers, the movers, the cashiers, etc. in that giant production line that is every supermarket. Their jobs, completely the opposite of bullshit jobs. But in the case of my specially created COVID supermarket job, things were very different. Picture this. The regular staff all have their roles, and everyone's a cog in this wonderful big supermarket machine, and then suddenly add 20 more extra goons into this picture who weren't needed in the first place. We weren't any kind of cogs in this machine.
I'm just a small cog in this operation.
Not even.
Hell, at most we're like the extra bit of sand stuck in the grease of that machine. I thought we would be helping out the aunties and uncles who were the regular staff working in the supermarket. Turns out, I thought wrong. Instead, we're told to rock up each day, and then we're assigned 2 hours within the supermarket to patrol for 8 hours. In the event that any item was taken off the shelves by a customer, my function was to get this shimmy up in a jiffy and move the adjacent products forward to cover that hole. On some days, we get to spend an hour to check fresh, emptying out the stuff in the refrigerators, the ice cream, the kimchi packets and whatnot. Check the expiry dates, remove the dead products, and then replace them back in there. Actually, the regular staff already does these, so we were essentially double-checking their work. But I was just grateful for something to actually do so that time can pass faster. And that was it. In summary, walk about 60 steps in a circle, over and over again for 8 hours, and on some days you get to pour through products for one of those hours. And at first I tried to make myself useful by helping the regular staff with stocking and whatnot when they were in my aisles, but then I got caught.
Gotcha!
And dressed down big time by these silly middle management people. It was so ridiculous. We were there getting paid for doing nothing, but we couldn't help out the regular staff with their jobs.
Are you working?
Yes.
It's too bad.
Aside from time passing by torturously slowly, said silly middle management people also trained us to jump and look busy if the GM should ever walk by.
See how busy I look?
I know this is a fake job. I know this only happened because of the pandemic, but every day that I worked this job, I felt like my spirit and my self-esteem was just being slowly eroded to the ground. Being paid to do nothing may sound like someone's dream, but trust me, when I actually experienced it, it made me want to poke my eyeball out. Plus, whilst not doing anything, we were still subject to management. Really inane management. This was also the first time in my life that I realized that I have been so lucky to generally have been subject to bosses whom I actually respect. Because taking orders from silly and petty people really sucks. I lasted 21 days. Then I threw in the towel and just walked off. So the term bullshit jobs isn't just me being pissy, it's actually coined by David Graeber, a professor at the London School of Economics. Bullshit jobs refer to pointless jobs which even the person doing the job can't really justify the existence of, even though such jobs tend to be highly respected and pay well. Additionally, since the pay is good and the benefits are cool, the employee is obligated to pretend that there's some reason for the job to exist. Graeber's top example of a BS job is corporate lawyers, which is funny because that's totally what I used to be too. He also counts PR consultants, telemarketers, brand managers, HR, service people into this category. And you think, okay, so BS jobs, what's the big deal? Well, this guy wasn't just ranting. His theory was that people innately have a need to contribute in some way, and if you deny that to them, for example, by sticking them in pointless BS jobs, they go crazy or become quietly miserable. When I first came across this, my mind immediately went ding ding ding. A decade ago, I quit my corporate lawyer job. For sure, what corporate lawyers do is not about serving the good of society, rather just serving to fuel corporate capitalism. I worked a gazillion hours pushing all sorts of papers to service MNCs, all of which ultimately felt meaningless in the bigger scheme of things. I mean, in the event of an apocalypse where survival depends on the skills that you have, corporate lawyers will be one of the first to die out for sure. That's how relevant we are. And a decade later in my life, this COVID job. It wasn't hard, walking 30 steps down one aisle and up the next, over and over again for 8 hours. But the mind-numbing nature of it made each day feel like a prison sentence. Just hanging in there for the sake of that $10 per hour was the most soul-crushing experience of my life so far. Things might have been different if I could actually have been productive or helpful some way within the supermarket, like to the regular stuff, but oh well, coulda, woulda, shoulda. And I completely understand that this was one weird-ass experience born of extenuating circumstances, that my temporary COVID job wasn't a real thing in real life, thank goodness. That we should be, and we were, me and everyone else working alongside me, grateful that we had COVID jobs to fall back on because the government stepped in. Grateful that that was what kept some of us on the side of survival back then. But that experience also spectacularly highlighted to me the pain, the mental anguish of doing pointless work, made worse by the fact that because you need that paycheck, you feel obliged to keep up a charade that you're busy and driven. It definitely reinforced my decision a decade ago to escape my lawyer golden handcuffs. If you're fortunate enough to have a job that's meaningful, I'm sure you also don't have to look too far to find someone who feels they have a bullshit job. This is the world we live in right now. Most of us will spend about a third of our lives working. That's a pretty significant chunk of our existence. Yet many BS job holders will simply resign themselves to a flatline existence going, this is how it's gotta be, suck it up and do it anyway. But why? I mean, maybe they want to provide for their loved ones.
I got a family to support.
Which of course is very noble. But I also think providing for your family and working a non-BS job is not mutually exclusive. Maybe they watched their parents' generation growing up and they saw from their examples that this is what adults do. That the important thing was having a job, stoically holding on to it until retirement, no question about whether anyone liked what they were doing. But the world has changed much since our parents' times. Sticking it out in a BS job is a very low bar in life to settle at. If you're in a BS job, I'm sure you'll have no trouble identifying it straight away. Then you need to decide what you want to do about it. Because we all have but one life to live, and inaction surely is a slow death to our spirits and our inspiration. A waste of days that could be spent on work and efforts and output that makes one rejoice about life, feel motivated, and look forward to tomorrow. Hard work is a prison sentence only if it does not have meaning. Once it does, it becomes the kind of thing that makes you grab your wife around the waist and dance a jig. Malcolm Gladwell. Well, thank you guys for staying with me to this point. Like, subscribe, share this video with someone who needs it. And yeah, I guess I'll see you next Saturday. I hope you had a good time with this. Bye!